What's up, guys? Nate and Sutton back with another video, and today is story time. We are going to talk about the craziest things that's ever happened to us.
Yeah, last night we were laying in bed and we've been trying to think, like, what are we going to make a video about this week? And today's Saturday, by the way, so we're posting this tomorrow. And I was like, I know what we can make a video about. And he said, what? I told him the craziest stories because I don't know about you guys, but I am so interested when people tell me crazy things that happen to them. So we thought it could be fun to tell you guys a couple crazy things that have happened to us.
And we've had a couple crazy things happen to us, so...
But nothing together, though.
Mm-mm.
Like, it's all yours or your stories and mine is my story.
Yeah, that's true. So buckle your seatbelt, get ready for the ride, and enjoy the story time. All right, so I have two crazy stories that sometimes when I tell them, it's almost too hard to believe. It's hard to believe that they're even true. And both of them are near-death experiences. Like, literally, I was like seconds from dying, which I really believe God was with me in those moments because, hey, it was a close call. So my first story, I'll start off with the bang. This thing is like nuts. This is a crazy story. And I experienced this with my friend when I was about 12 years old. And every once in a while, I'll like message him and I'll be like, did that really happen to us? Or did I just make that up in my mind? Because it's almost that hard to believe when I tell other people the story.
Remember in another video we were talking about how everything happened to you when you were 12?
Yeah.
You always say when I was 12 years old.
It was somewhere around there. 12 just seems like a good number. But anyway, so me and my friend, we were driving around with his parents, and they were looking for a new house. And they pulled over, they met at this house with a realtor to tour the home. And his parents were like, all right, guys, just stay in the car. We'll be back in like 5 minutes. We're just going to go check this out. And we were sitting in the car, just bored, you know. We're like, and we noticed there was a pool behind the house. And we're like, let's go check out that pool. But we were like, I don't know, should we do it? Because your parents told us to stay in the car. And I don't know who decided this. I think the Holy Spirit interjected and was like, get out of this car and go. Because sure enough, we got out of the car and we went to go look at the pool. And a few minutes later, a storm was brewing in the air. A few minutes later, we heard a lightning bolt like crack super loud. And then about 5 seconds later, we just hear a boom, like a huge crash. And we were like, what was that? And we look out the front window of the house, and a massive tree was struck by lightning and literally crushed the car.
Like ceiling to the floor,
Yeah,
right?
The ceiling was to the floorboard of that car. And had we not gotten out of that car, I don't think I'd be here making this video today.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God, hallelujah. That was a wild one.
I can't imagine how those parents felt. Like, how sickening to know you told them y'all to stay in the car, and like if you would have just listened, they wouldn't have a kid.
Yeah, I know. I think it just like took their breath away, and they were like, you guys never listen to us again. That's what they said.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's my near-death experience number one. I got two of them.
Yeah, so he's going to tell two stories, and I'm going to tell one. His are both near death. Mine is just something crazy. I didn't die. I mean, almost die. So my story, I really don't even know where to start because it's like a bunch of little stories into one big thing. But basically, when I was in high school, so everyone in my family is at home. It's my parents, me, and my two sisters. We lived in a house that was pretty big, and it was like back in the woods. I think we had like 4 acres, and we started noticing things happening in the house that like couldn't really be explained, like muddy boot prints on the floor. And, you know, there's 4 girls, and there's just my dad as the guy, and the boot prints are way too big to be my dad's feet. So we were like, well, that's weird, but we just kind of blamed it like, well, maybe it's just like somebody's friend, or I don't know, maybe it is my dad's shoes, I don't know. And so then we would notice like food going missing in the pantry, or like things that my mom made, it would go missing, but we would always be blaming each other for these things happening because there's 5 of us in the house, and what else are you going to blame it on besides each other? And then we had a piece of wood, like a wood chip in our back door, like where you turn the bolt to lock the door inside right there was a wood chip in there, so you can't lock the door. Like, you're turning the bolt and it feels like you're locking it, but the wood chip is stopping it, so like someone could come in. So we were like, okay, this is weird. And we kept like hearing things in the house. And so my dad was like, all right, I've had enough. Like, I'm getting a camera put in this house because we're going to catch whatever this is that's doing these things. So we got a camera installed by our front door. And one time it went off and we looked at it, and it is a man in our house like this. It was this he's little guy with long white hair and a beard. He looks homeless. We would always call him Joe, like Homeless Joe. That's just what we called him. Whenever we were blaming something, we'd kind of make a joke out of it and call it Homeless Joe did it. And we got this guy on camera walking through our foyer. He's like walking around the rug, so I guess he doesn't get mud on the rug, but he's just in there like taking our food and stuff. And he never took anything of value. It was always food, which is strange to me. And none of us ever saw him in person. We just saw him on the camera. But there are so many things that happened. Like, I think one of the first things that happened was we had an intercom system going throughout the house. And if you push it to talk, the sound comes out all over the house. And so my mom heard a man's voice. She's home alone. Me and my sisters are at school. My dad's at work. She hears a man's voice come on the intercom and say, "Hey, Melinda." And then it like went off, and her name is Melinda. So she was like, call my dad. She's like, "That's not funny. Like, don't be playing jokes on me like that." And he's like, "I'm at work. What are you talking about?" And so I think that was actually the first thing that ever happened, was he would know her name, from our mail or something. And we ended up talking to our neighbors. So we lived back in the woods, but it was a long driveway and it split off in two. And there was our house back here and our neighbor's house back here. And my dad got talking to them one day and they were like, "Oh yeah, that guy comes in our house." Like, they knew about it. And they said, so for them, something real crazy happened, is that guy came in on a day when their son was homesick from school, and he like laid a gun on the bed next to this kid's head, just like pointing at his head. And we had called the police multiple times on him. The craziest thing that happened to me personally with this guy was that, this is so long, there's just so much to tell about this whole thing. But I'm laying in my bed it was like early in the morning where it's still dark, and I was in high school, so I would get up really early to go to school with my younger sister. And the way that my room was set up, I'm laying in the bed, there's a window in front of me, so like moonlight comes in so you can kind of see a little bit, and then I had like an armoire over here with my clothes in it. And I hear someone like rustling around in my armoire, and I sit up and I'm just like watching them, thinking it's my sister looking for something to wear to school, but it's dark. I'm like, "You're not going to find what you're looking for. It's stinking dark in here." So I'm just watching her like, "What are you doing?" And so then I said that. I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing? I can help you find what you're looking for." And they're just like still rummaging around. And I was like, "Cody," and nothing. They're not turning around, just still rummaging. I'm like, "Cody." Nothing. So I just get out of my bed and run out of my room into Cody's room, my sister, who was next to me. And there she lays in her bed. And I called my parents. I'm like, "Where are y'all?" They were in their room. And by the time someone went in my room, he was gone. And apparently, we've called the cops on him so many times, and they knew who he was. And they said he has like military background, and that he was probably going in our house when it was being built and took one of our keys, because there was a time when our house was being built, my parents laid all the keys on the counter because they were going to disperse them to me and my sisters and each other, and one of them just like went missing. So I think he had a key and could just easily get in and out of our house. And all my friends were like, "We need to stake it out, like we need to sit there and catch him." But it's easy to talk like that and say you're going to do it, but he was just like, it was like impossible to catch him. And when you're in the situation, it's very scary. Like, my sister was home alone one time and heard like pots and pans banging in the kitchen. It's like he wanted you to know he's there so you would stay where you are and like not come and like find him in your house. But she was too scared to go downstairs. Obviously, she's home alone, and so she didn't. And to this day, he's probably still roaming about. And we have a mugshot of him. I should try to find it and get it in this video so y'all can see like what this guy looks like, and he was in our house.
She used to tell me this story, and I'm not sure I even really believed her until I heard each one of her family members confirm the story.
Yeah, everyone has like their own stories. It went on for years. I mean, there's just so much to that, but I just can't believe that we had a man coming in our house for years and he could not be caught. Because we were in the woods, whenever we'd call the police, they would take way too long to get there. Man. But it was very scary, and I'll say I'm glad to be out of that house.
Yeah, I would have been out of there so fast.
You're up.
All right. Well, I'm gonna end this off with another bang. This was another near-death experience that I had that was really scary. I was in the hospital. So rewind back to when I was 19 years old. I know, not 12 years old this time. I was actually 19, and I was getting chest surgery. For those of you that know me, I was born with a chest deformity where my chest like sunk in like a cereal bowl. Anyway, I was a junior year in high school getting this chest surgery, and everything seemed to go well. They basically split my chest wide open, straightened it out, sewed me back up, and I was in the hospital I was supposed to be there from like 3 to 5 days. But on day 3, I started feeling really weird. I just started noticing that it seemed like my brain wasn't working. Like I've never felt like this before, where I felt like my brain just like I couldn't form thoughts, and it was really weird. And I was telling my mom, I was like, something is not right. Like I just feel really weird. And she started noticing that she took a closer look at me, and she's like, "You are so pale." And it just looked like all the blood was being drained from my face, which it was. This is when a mother's intuition really comes in handy sometimes.
And his mom's a nurse too, so that also was very helpful.
Yeah, my mom was an open heart surgery nurse for like 30 years, so she kind of, that combined with her motherly intuition, she knew something was not right. So she basically told the doctors, she went out and she's like, my son, he needs a blood test because he's not feeling good. He's looking really pale. Something's not right. And so they come in and they check me, and they say, oh, he's fine. We'll check him in the morning if he's still not feeling good. And then my mom, she like went off. She was like, no, I am demanding you to take a blood test right now. And she was really...
Like a blood count is what you mean, right?
Yeah, like a blood count. Sorry, that might be a better term for it. Basically to see how I'm doing. And they took a blood count and basically found out that I had lost 2/3 of my blood, like almost 70% of my blood. And I was bleeding internally. So somehow the cut was not healing properly, and all my blood, I was just bleeding internally. And if you look at my stomach was super swollen. It was just like out to here, and that was literally my blood filling my insides. And so as soon as they took my blood count, like it was like the whole hospital rushed in there. They started trying to inject me with IVs, and they literally could not get a vein because my veins were collapsing. And they stuck a needle. They were like using needles like the size of a pencil, literally, and trying to inject me and to start the blood transfusions. And they couldn't get a vein. Eventually, they were able to get one, and they started pumping me with blood. And they basically said that I was probably minutes from going into cardiac arrest. And actually, they said with how low my blood count was, that most people would not have survived that. I was really athletic at the time, and they said it was most likely because of my athleticism and my body to be able to, handle oxygen very efficiently. I was able to make it through it. But it was just a crazy, crazy experience. It was so weird getting the blood transfusions because they take blood from, a freezer, and they pump it in you. And I've never felt so cold in my life. I was like shaking for probably like 30 minutes, and they were taking hot towels out of the dryer and piling them on top. I think they put like 20 or 30 hot towels on top of me. And I was just still like shaking. It was so crazy, but yeah, I almost died there too, so.
That's horrible.
Thank the Lord.
This wasn't your time, thankfully.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, those were some crazy stories about us. Hopefully we won't have anything else like that come up. If we do, you'll hear about it.
Yeah, if you guys have any crazy stories that are like short enough to type, just like a crazy experience, I would love to hear them if you want to put them in the comments, because I am very interested in this stuff. This is Nate and Sutton sowing seeds of truth, love, and inspiration one view at a time.
And that was our crazy stories. Hope you enjoyed.